What if the biggest reason you feel stuck as an entrepreneur isn't because of what you're doing, but you feel stuck because what you're doing is not in full alignment with your unique ability? Welcome to the Level Up Business Podcast. I'm J.R. Lay, and today I'd like to introduce you to Julia Waller. Julia is the Unique Ability Specialist at Strategic Coach, and she's also the author of the Unique Ability book series. And in today's conversation, Julia shares how to identify your unique ability and, more importantly, why ignoring compliments might be the most self-sabotaging thing you do as an entrepreneur. And we're also going to dig into the power of authentic intelligence in the age of AI and why the most scalable thing you can offer as an entrepreneur isn't automation, but it's alignment. So if you have ever felt the tug between who you are and what you do, this conversation is your permission slip to reconnect and perhaps maybe even for the first time, connect with your unique ability. But first, thinking about unique ability, authentic intelligence, and unique wisdom, and how all three of those combined can make an impact, I have a question for you. Are you a visionary entrepreneur who wants to elevate your brand and expand your influence to increase your impact? Well, if this is you, you are the reason that we're on a mission to amplify the voices of visionary entrepreneurs by unlocking their wisdom, sharing their stories, and publishing their books with confidence. So when you are ready to level up your business and your life, send me a text, 832-240-1922. That's because I want to teach you. I want to show you how you can amplify your voice so that your mission and your message are seen, known, and heard by those who need your help the most. Now, let's get ready to learn. Let's get ready to grow. Let's get ready to level up together with Julia Waller. Julia, welcome to the show. I am so happy that you're joining for a conversation today to talk about something I know you're extremely passionate about, something that I'm passionate about as well, because it's the word unique, and in your perspective is unique ability. I'm looking at this from a different perspective with what I call unique wisdom. But before we get too far into unique ability, and perhaps unique wisdom is in that arena as well, what is going well for you? What has been a positive win over the past? We're coming out of the summer right now. What's a big win for you, personally or professionally, or both?
Great question. So over the summer, I had some great free days, which are vacation days with my daughter. We got to go on a trip out East Coast in Canada, so see new places, out of the routine. That was super fun, very rejuvenating. She started grade 8, which we were talking about, and she's doing well so far. So of course, when your kids are happy, that helps you be happy as well. And professionally, I have this amazing, honor to work one-on-one with our Strategic Coach entrepreneurial clients to help them figure out their unique ability. And I just got off a call this morning, and every call is so fun and so interesting, and each call is different, and each person is so different, and helping connect people with who they really are and live more in alignment with that is just the greatest thing that you could do. So that's a big win for me, this morning's coaching session.
Unique ability, it's that word uniqueness, and I've really latched onto this as we have entered into the age of AI. We have artificial intelligence. I'm personally not, I think it's the opportunities and the potential, fantastic. But in regards to artificial, I'm more interested in another type of AI, which is authentic intelligence. And I think authentic intelligence really pairs well with unique ability and unique wisdom. And the way that I look at unique wisdom is two parts. It is unique perspective that comes from someone's lived, learned, shared experiences that is then further multiplied and amplified by their unique method. So their system, their process that visually communicates that perspective so that it provides clarity. I don't want to talk about that, but I just want to set some context into why I'm so interested in unique ability, particularly in the age of artificial intelligence, where the authentic intelligence that every individual, every person, every team member, every entrepreneur brings to an organization is what is going to create value. So let's take a step back. Unique ability. Some might have heard the term who listen to this podcast, who watch this podcast. It might be a new term for others. Let's just level set with what is unique ability to begin with in the first place.
Yeah, great. So the simplest explanation or definition is it's your unique set of talents and strengths that are fueled by your passion. So we always talk about we have a whole process where you figure out your 10 best habits and then you sum it up into this unique ability statement. My unique ability is, and there's always two parts. There's the what you're always doing. It's what's natural to you. It's authentic to you. I love your term authentic intelligence. I think this would describe someone's authentic intelligence basically. So it's what you're doing, what are your talents, what's your contribution, and then the second half is why do you do this? What's the outcome or result that you're most passionate about achieving? And that's like your deepest why. And so when you put the what and the why together, that's your unique ability. And then underneath that, it's kind of like there's the recipe, what are the ingredients that make up that unique ability statement? And then you take that unique ability and you apply it to certain activities, podcasting, coaching, accounting, whatever it is, problem solving, client meetings, all the different things that people do, visioning, envisioning the future. So you take that unique ability and that's in the application of it. But I like to know what the deep stuff is underneath the surface activities so that I know what is actually fueling someone. Right now I'm super curious when you talk about unique wisdom. I'm like, okay, that obviously stems from your unique ability. There's got to be something in your unique ability around wisdom and lived experiences, and then using that, and I forget the second part that you said, but all of that is an extension of your unique ability. And my theory, and I'll throw it right out there, you can see if this sits for you or not, but sometimes it requires more of a conversation, is that the way we actually create value, we create value for the world using our unique ability, being ourselves. And the way that we create value is we actually help other people be like us, think like us, feel like us, do like us. So when I'm talking to you and I'm talking about unique wisdom, guess what? I'm now thinking like JR, right? I'm thinking about unique wisdom. If I'm talking to someone super empathetic, I'm going to be feeling more empathy probably because they're going to be sharing that with me. If I'm talking to Dan Sullivan, I'm going to be thinking in terms of thinking about my thinking and ideas because that's what he's been doing since he was 6 years old or 5 years old or whenever. So we all kind of rub off on each other, being ourselves, helping other people. When you read a book, you're all of a sudden, let's say it's a business book, you're reading the other person's perspective and you're gaining more wisdom. You're probably a huge learner, I'm guessing. And then you're now adopting that and adding it into who you are. You're not becoming someone else, but you're sort of layering it onto you, which is what I feel like happens every coaching session. The person rubs off on me a little bit. I learn something new. I have a new perspective. I'm like, wow, I never thought someone could do something like that. So that's kind of how it all is about value creation. I think we're all valuable in our own unique ways. Some people, use theirs more than others or apply it in bigger ways and it's more noticeable. But I'm super curious about how yours ties into wisdom, but that would be another call, another conversation about your unique ability. Of course, that's immediately where I go. I'm like, ooh, tell me more.
No, it is perspective. And I'm glad you brought up that word. Perspective really became important to me whenever I was writing my second book, Banking on Change. And the subtitle of that book is How to Achieve Exponential Growth in the Age of AI. And the way I was looking at exponential growth is when an individual and then a team and then an organization is growing both personally and professionally at the same time. I think about the COVID experience, and I think you might have even used the word integration before, or alignment. I can't remember how you framed integration
Those
and
are two of my
alignment.
favorite words. Sorry.
And so no, you're good. And for me, it's when you're struggling personally, you're going to struggle professionally. Even as an entrepreneur, and when you're struggling as an entrepreneur, and this is my lived experience, I was struggling personally, and a lot of it, that struggle was because I was out of alignment. I wasn't integrated. I was looking at my life in two different parts, and I want to come back to unique ability here because the way that you frame this up, I think, is so critically important for everyone to consider. What is my unique ability? And before we go down to helping others answer that question, because it is value creation, Julie, when you think about your unique ability, what is your unique ability and how did that unique ability take you down the path to help others unpack and unlock and identify what their unique abilities are?
Okay, I'll try and keep it short. So my unique ability, and this is our statement that we have our process to come up with, I'll just give you my Easiest statement. My unique ability is making meaningful connections that integrate the parts of a whole and create a path for people to grow and fully express who they are. So I used to be a teacher. I was an elementary school teacher certified here in Ontario. I taught K to 6 in Hong Kong international schools, Mexico international schools, in Canada for a year. And then I started at strategic coach. And over my career in strategic coach, I kind of got, went to different roles. I do think we kind of follow our nose, and it follows us to our unique ability somewhat, especially if you're in a culture that supports unique ability. And when I started, it was like, how can we help Julia be a better Julia? And how can we use Julia's talents toward the vision of our company? So it was a beautiful culture to grow your unique ability in. I became the leader of a team, and my very first thought was, I need to make sure my team is growing. It wasn't about success, results, those kind of things. That's not how I want those things. But my first thing was, how do I help people grow? And I looked around, and Dan was working in the cafe one day, Dan Sullivan, and he had this exercise, and I was like, oh, that looks cool. That looks like a unique ability exercise. And we had these other ones in the workshop, and I'm an 8 follow through on the Colby. If anyone knows what that means, you put together things into systems. So I created this system. It was already kind of partly there, but I just ended up over time making it my own, and I used it to help my team member grow. And she's like, that was a really great experience. And it was really just the startings of this, how do we write down what someone's unique ability is? And it was through conversation, and I just connected the dots, and I understood some of the profiles that we use and helped her see herself and what her contributions were. And then I wanted to help her do more of that, because I thought if I could do that with everyone on my team, that's going to be the best thing for the company. It's going to be the best thing for them. Win, win, win. And then you're going to get the best results, best happiness, satisfaction, fulfillment, all the things that anybody wants. So it just evolved from there, really. And then we wrote the book on unique ability, and then we had a client who said, oh, I can't do this by myself with the book. I need someone to coach me through it. And Babs said, no, we don't do one-on-one coaching. We only have workshop groups. And he was very persistent. And thank you, Nathan. I always thank him, because he was extremely persistent. And finally, Babs gave in and said, fine, pay your money, come to Toronto. Julia will do it with you. Well, meanwhile, I'd been doing it backstage with our team for, 15 years, and I was terrified at the thought of doing it with an actual client who would pay money for it, because I'd never been in that realm. Fast forward 15 years later, that's basically my full job, is I meet one-on-one with maybe only 20, 25 clients per year. Really, it's an in-depth process, and it's an extra add-on. I do a few other things as well at the company, obviously, but that's how I ended up where I am. And my teaching, I was still helping growth and development. It was a different audience, different school system, not my favorite. Now I'm in an entrepreneurial audience, working with entrepreneurs. Shannon said they're no different. My sister, who's helped me start at the company, she's like, they're no different than 4th graders, Julia, and everyone laughs, and nobody takes offense. So that's how I've kind of ended up doing what I'm doing.
Okay, well, that's so that context, see, perspective, and the way that I look at perspective, and this was a big part of writing Banking on Change, was as we're going through a period of exponential change, I think it's important to have an understanding of why we have the perspective that we have. It's like whenever I go and I do a keynote at a conference, one of the very first things that I ask within the first 5 minutes, and I can see it makes people feel a little bit uncomfortable. I'm like, okay, I want to take you back. I want you to hop in the time DeLorean of your mind. I want to take you back to 1994. Everyone's like, why 1994? And I was like, well, you got to hop in the time DeLorean. We're going to find out together. So everyone get in the time DeLorean. We're going to fly back to 1994. And then I'm like, welcome to 1994. This was the year that the internet reached the mass consciousness of humanity. And I know that we just met, and I have a very important question. It might make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but that's okay, because growth never happens in the comfort zone. So why don't we just take a minute and pause and think back to how old you were in 1994. And now you start seeing people start to squirm a little bit, and then I do a poll of the audience of who was 30 plus in 1994, and then hands go up, and then who was 20 to 29, and hands go up, and we go all the way down, and then it's like, then there are people who are kind of like looking around like, well, what if I wasn't? I was like, no, we're gonna get to you in a second. What if I wasn't born in 1994? Because I believe that how old you were in 1994. Particularly with the internet and everything that has transpired over the last 30 years. And now with AI coming literally online, we're in another period like the internet, but more exponential than just what the internet was. That's your perspective is going to shape how you take your next steps forward. And perspective is the sum of context and framing. So the perspective that you just shared in the context and the frame, I think is extremely helpful of how you got to where you're at with this perspective of of unique ability. Now, I understand it. I also think what prevents someone, what prevents an entrepreneur for that matter, from understanding that they have a unique ability and maybe doesn't even give them the opportunity to explore that area, and they started a business, they're good at it, but they actually might not be working in their unique ability. What happens when that surfaces?
Yeah, so you asked a few questions in there. I'll talk about one thing. So we have the distinction between unique ability activities where it's superior skill, you get energy from doing it, you're passionate about it, and you want to keep never ending improvement and keep learning and improving in that area. So that's unique ability activity. The second kind of activity we talk about is an excellent activity. You have a superior skill, you're very good at it. You've got a great teamwork and great reputation, but you don't have the passion for it. A lot of clients, a lot of people in the world get stuck in this excellent trap where they're stuck doing excellent activities because you guys are so bloody smart, so resourceful, so resilient. So like, okay, I'll make it work, I'll figure it out. And maybe it started with a unique ability kind of idea, passion, and then you end up in the kind of grind of doing everything yourself. And this is why in Strategic Coach, we shift people into the model of, hey, we can do it better together than me doing it all myself. Why don't I keep the activities that are actually really energizing? Like if you're energized by learning about context and wisdom and learning and deepening perspectives and talking to people, like we should have you do that, and then let's find other people to do the other activities that are not excellent for you. Maybe you're not even competent at them. And I think because the entrepreneurial mindset is so resilient and resourceful, you tend to just take it on and do it yourself. So that happens. And then I think there's also, when I talk to people, there's a lot of these shoulds that appear from society, from parents, upbringing, schools, wherever, of, well, as the CEO or the owner or the visionary, I should be in the office down in the corner. I had one guy, he's like, I really like being out there talking to the sales guys and doing this and doing all this stuff and traveling. I'm like, go do that. And he ended up giving his assistant the office in the corner. Like he didn't want to be in that office, but he felt like he should for whatever reason, who knows why. So there's a lot of shoulding, and I'll give you a third one. There's a lot of lack of awareness that what you're doing is actually unique to you. You think we all have this. We call it in the book unique ability blindness. We think that what we do, everybody else can do it too. Like, why is that special? We are the fish in the proverbial fishbowl who cannot see the water because they're in the water. So you got to get out of the water and look back in and go, oh, what's up with that fish? And oh, this fish is good at this and this fish is good at that. And we need to figure out what your unique talents are, but we don't see it in ourselves. It's so natural. And I've had clients, when I get them to try to describe it for me, they're like, well, but that's just like breathing. I'm like, exactly, yeah. So if you had to describe that, what would it be? What are you actually doing? And then we get there and we get them to figure it out. But they don't see that it's unique. And you talked about the word at the beginning. People don't see that they're unique. They make all these radical assumptions that everyone else is the same. And that's partly why we use the assessments that we use. And we use letters to get feedback from other people to help you see outside yourself. We're so inside ourselves. I get to be the person on the outside as the coach or facilitator of the process. That's all I do. And connect the dots for people.
Everything that you just shared resonated of probably why I felt so much pain as an entrepreneur. Because I started a business. You and I were talking before we hit record. My last real job was waiting tables and playing in a punk rock band. And that was until that girl in the picture that you saw set me down in the library one day and said, your band really sucks. You need to do something like meaningful with your life. And she came from an entrepreneurial family, an immigrant family. And 4 years later, we would get married. So she's been on this ride with me for 19 years married, but together 25. So it's just wild when we think about that. But I think the biggest friction and the frustration started popping up because I was good, maybe even excellent at certain areas, and I was just grinding. And I built a team, but I didn't do it the right way, the smart way. And then she said, hey, it's the family of the business. I mean, we were right on the brink of divorce. And I've told this story, so many times because it's easier to tell the story now because we're beyond all of that. And then it was in 2017 I joined Coach. And that is where I started to really get some, well, you use the word awareness, awareness of myself, but then others around me. And Colby helped with that, definitely. But then also just being open to, we'll call it the compliments of other people. We're having this podcast conversation because of a lot of things that came out of the coach experience for me. So, for example, when we sat down and we did the like what the future, your age,
Lifetime extender.
lifetime extender, correct. And I started to write down like when you think you're going to die, and if you get these extra years, well, what's that number? And then what are you going to do? And then it was like, well, why aren't you doing that now? And one of them was actually to write a book. And so that then led me to authoring a book. Took some action with that, but that book was supposed to have been published in April of 2020.
Oh, great.
So right as COVID was shutting the world down, and I was actually in Toronto for Coach when Trump closed the borders. And I'm like, what is going on? I remember the whole session. We were like, we're about to enter into a whole new experience. And now we've got the perspective of time. We think about everything that has transpired. And I came home and I fell into the gap. And my wife, she was kind. She gave me about a week to complain because all the keynotes that I had scheduled for the book launch, just got canceled, like back to back to back. Like, how are you supposed to launch a book in a pandemic? There's no playbook for that. And so she gave me a week, and then she was like, and we'll say the profanity, but in kind words, with a lot of love, but with a lot of energy behind it, she was like, and not these words, what are you going to do about it? Throw some explicitives in there. And I'm like, and that just gave me the permission to start looking for a way to solve this problem. And so I was like, okay, let's launch a podcast. That then created a whole new capability that I actually enjoyed probably more than anything that I ever did before, because it was the conversations, it was the connections, it was the questions, it was the content collaboration, the co-creation that led to another book. And then now that led to a whole new business now being built around essentially because and I think the whole point of this, for a few years, people were like, man, that was great. I really enjoyed that. The podcast experience. And I said, it's just easy. It's just natural. They're like, no, I've been on a lot of podcasts, but this was a different experience. I was like, okay. I was rejecting, I was pushing away, and I was not accepting what I was hearing from others. Can we pause on that point? Because I think you touched on it, but I don't want other people to think that what comes so naturally to them, like breathing, maybe that's the thing, but it's hard to read the label from inside the jar. You mentioned the fishbowl. It's hard to read the label from inside the jar and inside the bottle. Where do the letters come into play with this?
So the first exercise we have, and thanks for sharing that, it's fascinating, right? It's the same, everything that I've been thinking about and dealing with everybody else. And I'm sorry you had to go through that, but look at all the cool things that happen. The letters, we send out, it's a simple question. You could go to uniqueability.com. Everybody can find it there if you want it. It's like basically you pick 8 or 10 people in your life, friends, family, colleagues, team members, doesn't matter, people, your neighbors. I sent it to my neighbors that I hadn't met when I did it again a second time when we rewrote the book. The Unique Ability book, and you say, hey, what do you think my unique ability is? What characteristics describe me? What do you value me for? What do you count on me for? And we get this feedback. I had one client, he couldn't read the letters. This is how much people push away this kind of thing, like what you're talking about. He had his assistant read them for them. I mean, I find out later he didn't even read the letters. I'm like, so what was your experience? Usually part of the first step of the experience is getting these letters back. We do the Colby assessment, we use the Clifton Strengths, and we use the print assessment to figure out the how, the what, and the why. And those are really helpful. And people do see those, but sometimes they put them aside and they're like, oh yeah, another report, whatever. But the letters always hit home. And some people have a really hard time taking it in. And the thing that popped into my mind when you were saying it, you know, a lot of the people I think associate this sort of good feedback with ego. They think that it's like being boastful, and I encounter this when I have people write down their unique ability on a page. Some people are like, that feels really ego. And most people I work with are very humble. People think, I don't know what they think about entrepreneurs, but the people I work with are very humble. And they downplay their talents, if anything. They don't upplay them. And I think as in society, I think we actually teach people to do that. We don't, you can't just go and say, actually, I'm really good at that. Can I take that from you? It's be like, oh, well, you're arrogant or you're egotistical or something like that. Or, the society also does another conversation, talks about, well, what's wrong with JR? What's wrong with Julian? How do we make that better? Versus, hey, what's right with JR? What's right with Julian? How do we magnify that, right? That's what unique ability does. But people have a hard time. You're not the only one to have that experience. It's hard to take in the feedback. I have a hard time with it. Why do you think I teach it? Because I have a hard time do myself, right? I have a hard time seeing how I'm special and unique. So we teach what we most need to learn. And it's a process of absorbing those letters and taking them seriously. And then when we document your unique ability, then it's like a process of, okay, you've written it down now on a piece of paper and you're saying this is what you're all about. Now how do you own it? And how do you play those cards in, go full out, unapologetic? And some people do it full in and other people do it slowly and little by little and over time. But the whole point is to take it in, go, hey, these are the ingredients that I'm made of, and this is what I'm here to do. You're a brilliant podcaster. I've been on with you, 15 minutes? You're such a natural. It's amazing. It's so easy to talk to. It's fascinating for me. It's interesting. You got a great voice. Like all the things that you put together, and to you, it's like, really? Yeah? It's like breathing for you. It is total unique ability activity. You can just tell. And so we have to just trust if we ask the right audience, the audience is right, and then take that feedback in. And actually Dan has, and I don't have it off the top of my head which book, but it's something like if you ask the right audience and you dismiss their compliment, it's almost like an act of violence where you're pushing off.
Hold on. I want to pause you. I want to pause you because that is something that we cannot overlook. We should pause on that. If you dismiss, because this was me, and it was true. You talk about violence. It might not have been violence externally. It was violence internally because that was complete 100% self-sabotage. And it was I was not loving myself for the gifts that were bestowed upon me. I was rejecting the gift, and as a result, I wasn't able to share that gift and present it to others to help them. And you're right. It's like everyone has some sort of unique ability, unique wisdom, unique purpose, but we probably spend more time rejecting that than we do accepting it. So can we just go back to that point?
Yeah.
If we reject the audience, it's an act of violence.
Yeah, it's profound. I have it highlighted somewhere because it's such a profound thing for me when I read that, because I do that too. And I know my sister Shannon was at this personal development course that we went to years ago, and I think the person was giving her feedback. Maybe it was either one. The analogy still worked, and Shannon was dismissing the feedback. Same kind of thing, right? And the woman stopped her and said, when you do that, every time you do that, it's like you're spitting on me. And it was like, oh my God, I didn't realize I was doing that. It's some act of, and in a way what you're saying, if somebody says, oh my gosh, JR, you're such a great podcaster, I had such a great experience on your podcast, and you dismiss that, you're basically invalidating my experience, my opinion, and of course you're self-sabotaging, like you said, yourself, because you're not allowing yourself to be fully owning who you are, and actually you're born to be a podcaster and a communicator and whatever else, all the things that you do that you love to do and make such an impact doing and create value doing. You're shutting yourself down. You shut the other person down when you dismiss them.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because I'm working with someone right now who's really challenging me on the personal brand side of things, because this idea of the podcast is, I would say, was the first step, but we're building a whole business model around this idea of conversation, connection, content co-creation, to where we're helping other entrepreneurs turn video into a book in 90 days. And it's through just connection, conversation, but really what I'm starting to go deeper into is it's questions. And I believe that every single human being is just one question away from unlocking their next level of growth. And a lot of people feel stuck because they haven't been asked the right question at the right time. But when you get the right question at the right time, it helps you see something different. It helps you think something different. Most importantly, it helps you feel something different, because it's that feeling, that emotion, that really, that's the unblock right there. So as you guide people through the unique ability system process, what are the transformations that you have seen with the entrepreneurs that you have coached and guided?
The transformations usually occur in the area of really kind of what I was talking about, leaning into the areas. So I don't know, I'm trying to think of the most recent example. And they might seem like subtle things, but sometimes they're huge. So I had one client who's this amazing strategic visionary thinker, right? And he was doing that at the end of the day of being involved in the business. A lot of there's this in the business versus on the business, right? And a lot of the people I work with are the visionary entrepreneurs, like your audience. And they're spending a lot of time doing this stuff in the business because they either need to or they should or they don't have the team yet in place or whatever. So this one, he would come up with these amazing ideas. So instead of doing that at the end of the day, I'm like, well, what if you just had Fridays or one day of the week where this could be your day to think, or even your half day, or where would that be? And this was through the process of, oh, you're an amazing thinker, you come up with these great strategies and solutions and growth for your company. Oh, you're not spending a lot of time doing that right now. How do we help you be more in your unique ability? Oh, well, and I just ask questions, kind of like you. I pull it out of people. I don't give people the answers. But I mean, I may have heard some wisdom that I had someone else do, like, oh, someone else has a creative Monday or a Friday, where they go. So off he goes to the cigar lounge and he hangs out there on Fridays now. And at the beginning, maybe it's only once every few weeks or maybe it's once a month. I don't care. Just start doing it. And then I get texts. Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. I came up with all these ideas. Now I'm going to go do this, right? You want to grow your business, you got to give yourself that. A lot of people don't have enough time to think. That's a very common thing. So the transformations happen sometimes, again, by rearranging your calendar, taking things away from your calendar, giving yourself permission. That's a huge word that comes out of you've got clarity from knowing what your unique ability is. Now you're all pumped up and you got confidence in knowing, okay, usually people say, I want to know, what should I do more of? What should I do less of? I'm like, perfect. That I can help you with. So it's like, okay, here's your unique ability. And here are your unique ability activities that are distribution channels and extensions and applications of that unique ability. Great. Which ones do you want to do more of? And then we take all the other stuff and we go, okay, what's the plan to get rid of this stuff? How do we get rid of the competent, incompetent stuff? That stuff you should fire yourself from immediately because you're way overpaid for doing stuff that you're crappy at. And the excellent stuff is harder, but let's work on that too, because it's all sucking up time that you could be using in your unique ability. So now people are inspired and they're like, okay, I had one client go and completely rearranged his entire business. And all he does now is a new business model based on his unique ability. Chad Jenkins, shout out to you. You're amazing. So other people do it more, incrementally.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the collab, which is now, what he's creating collaborations because he sees everything as a collaboration.
Yes. That's a fantastic point. And I've had Chad on for a conversation as well. Here's a question for you. As you're going through this, is there a bit of an identity shift that happens with this? Because how much of our behavior runs on a belief system that we're not even aware of, because 95% of our behavior runs at a subconscious level that we just can't perceive. And as a result, as you're guiding them through this, you're helping them connect, align, and integrate to who they were put on this planet to fully be. Not do, but to be. How much of that is a belief shift and maybe an identity shift?
By the way, that was beautifully articulated. Thank you. That spoke to me totally. I think for some people, it's more of an identity shift than others. It depends on the level of self-awareness they have coming in. I've had people come in and we really just validate what they already knew. They're like, oh, I kind of thought that was my unique ability, but wow, I didn't realize that was unique and I didn't have the words around it. I couldn't describe it to myself or to others. So it's sometimes more of a validation. But usually I do go deeper and we get into some other stuff, right? Because that's how I like to do it. And that's what happens. Some other people I still remember one client where, I did a session in person, I used to, and he wrote it, and we were looking up at the thing, and he's like, that's my why? And I was like, I didn't know that was going to come out of this process. Did you? And he was like, I had no idea. And it was so wild because I'm like, really? That's what you're all about? And he's like, yeah. And actually Stelios, I don't know if you know Dr. Nick, Stelios Nikolakakis, we just did a podcast and we were talking about his unique ability. And I thought, It's all about vision and well, it's about even more than that, and life force energy and connecting and
Yes.
intimate communion with people and magical, meaningful moments. And but yes, vision and purpose is his thing. But I even just on the most recent, and we're friends, and I've known him now since we did his unique ability session a few years ago. And I didn't realize he didn't know some of these things about himself until he did that session. I just thought he knew those things already, but we maybe put words around. I know he had a big enlightenment moment in the middle of the session because we kind of saw how his all worked together, and he saw how they were all integrated in the flow and everything like that. His new book's coming out, which is going to be so cool. And it's such a great expression of his unique ability, just like your books are an expression of your unique ability and your unique wisdom. But I don't even know sometimes how much. So yes, the bottom line answer, often there is an identity shift because there's an owning of and a realization of, oh, this is who I am and what I'm on this planet to do in this lifetime. And
Yes. I
and then
see.
people
Can I
just do
build upon that thought?
it. Hmm.
I think it's not just what we're put here to do, but we're put here to be. Because I think there's a difference
Yes.
between the being and the doing. Like we're human beings and we're not human doers. But when we do, that's where the confusion, the complexity, the conflict starts to creep in. I want to start to land this, but as we do, I always like to, for those that have kept with us in this conversation, and I always thank you for your investment of time and sharing space and energy and attention with us. What would you recommend for another visionary entrepreneur to do next? Something small, something practical, not very big, but one thing they can do to make progress when it comes to their unique ability.
I would say to send out that letter. It's a very eye-opening, awareness amplifying experience. So you go to uniqueability.com, there's a beginner's guide there, and it has the letter in there. Copy, use AI or whatever to put it into a letter, send it out in an email, pick 8 or 10 people, send it out, get the responses back, and soak it up. Take it in. Take a deep breath and believe what people say about you, right? And take in the feedback. And then
Yeah.
start to notice, oh, people think I'm valuable in this way. Wow, I love doing
Yes.
that. How could I do more of that? Oh, I hate doing this stuff. How could I do less of that, right? It just can organically evolve from there. Just one comment back to what you said about the being. I agree with you about the being. I think it is also, I do think there's doing. If I look at some people's best habits, it is around doing. It's around thinking. It's around feeling, doing. But the overall, you're right, it's being. It's who you are being with all of those elements, which is why I said at the beginning, the way we create value is we help other people be like us, because you have a way of
Ah,
being and I have a way of being in the world, and inside that beingness is the thinking, feeling, doing inside
yes.
there. So I'm actually helping you be, you're helping me be like JR. I'm thinking like you right now, and you're thinking like me right now, because we're sharing our beings together in this content co-creation, which is super cool.
And I think when you find that place of being, that integration, that alignment, that makes the doing, the feeling, the action that much more amplified, that much more connected with others as well.
And there's a flow. I think of the word flow, and you talk about flow state and all
Yes.
that stuff. If you're in your unique ability, like this flows for you, this flows for me. You're making this flow for me today because I can feel you're in your unique ability. And that makes it easier for me to express myself and share with you.
So thank you for sharing your unique ability with all of us today. Thank you for sharing your unique wisdom that has come from your lived, learned, shared experience with others. If someone wants to continue the conversation that we have started, I know that you have a podcast that they can continue to learn from others as well and explore this area in their own lives. But what's the best way for them to connect with you, learn from you, and level up together with you?
Yeah, podcast coming soon, Unique Ability Podcast. Thank you for the plug. We haven't launched it yet, but it's coming. So we'll post that on LinkedIn. Julia Waller on LinkedIn went to, or Strategic Coach. The best thing if you're a visionary entrepreneur, check out Strategic Coach. Unique Ability is the cornerstone concept of everything we do. Everything builds on unique ability. I work with a select group of our clients that way. That's the best way to get hold of us is over at strategiccoach.com and uniqueability.com for your letter, and go and do it. Send it out. I dare you to send it out today.
There you go. So here's your action. Connect with Julia on LinkedIn. Check out Strategic Coach. send out your unique ability letter, and then most importantly, continue to check out the podcast with Julie so that you can learn, grow, and level up together. Julie, thanks again for joining me for another episode of the Level Up Business Podcast. This has been a lot of fun today.
Thank you. What a total blast and an honor. Thanks so much.
Hey, it's JR. Before we wrap up, I have one more question for you. Are you a visionary entrepreneur who wants to elevate your brand and expand your influence to increase your impact? If this is you, you're the reason we're on a mission to amplify the voices of visionary entrepreneurs by unlocking their wisdom, sharing their stories, and publishing their books. So, when you are ready to level up your business and your life, send me a text to 832-240-1922. That's because I want to teach you to amplify your voice so that your mission and message are seen, known, and heard by those who need your help the most.